If God told you to quit your job with no plan of what was next, could you do it? Welcome to the Lips and Language podcast. My name is Cola, where we talk about life, love, and language. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Let's get into today's topic. Hey y'all, welcome back. We're going to jump right into the topic. The month of April, we'll be dealing with all types of losses. Because the thing about loss is it's not just subject to a person, it's subject to person, things, objects, houses. Like, a loss is a loss. And how we process those losses are important. It's important not to just breeze through them, but, to work through them with God. So, as I've talked about how I lost my house, as I talked about just the future and things that I thought was going to happen that didn't happen. Today, we're going to get into losing my job and what that entails, because it's not what people think it is. And so I believe I talked about getting into a job, and I got into a job like really soon after my son had passed, because society is like, get a job, go to work, be useful. They make you seem like if you want to stay home and take care of yourself, you want to stay home and try to get things put together, that you're just not doing it correctly. You are just wasting your life away. Like, there's a certain order that they believe that you should do it in, and if you don't do it according to what they believe, then like it ain't for you. You know what I'm saying? So I was in this place where I got a job, and I was a French customer service rep for a bit. But because I didn't take the time to really process everything, I had gone for, I think, about 9 months straight, and I crashed and almost burned. And when I say crash and burn, I mean my body had been attacking me, and I started going to work and just crying. Like, I would show up and spend more time in the bathroom than I was really doing my job. And I'm like, that's not healthy either, because I'm not an employee that likes to just get paid not doing the right work. Like, if I'm getting paid, it's because I'm sitting here doing the work. And I loved what I did, in a sense. um of just answering people, and customer service has always been my thing. Being kind to people, treating people with respect, that's always going to be my jam and my lane. And so it was cool. I think the stressful part was like doing it in French, because although I'm French, I grew up French immersion, I grew up speaking French. It had been a while since I tapped into French, and like there's certain words and certain phrases you got to understand. And although I was great in high school, I'm long past high school years. And so that was a learning curve for me at a time when my brain was not really trying to process anything. And so going through that situation really put a strain on me. And then it also, there's the creative side of me that really died, that really just like took a back seat. And when I thought about it, I'm like, man, I really need to start doing something that brings joy. That is the time that all this lip art started. I started just the lipsticks, just really pretty colors, just seeing pretty shades and ombres. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. And so I bought some lipstick just to add a little something to my appearance, a little razzle dazzle, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I started with one color, and then I started with a couple colors, and I started blending them, then I started doing design. Like, I really just took this to a whole new level, and it really felt like I was painting my lips. And I used to paint when I was a kid, and it'd been a while since I had painted. I've been so detached from that side of my art form that finding it again in this space was really cool. The only thing was, the more I got creative with my painting, the more I showed up in just these vibrant colors that really felt healing to my soul. People would be like, oh my gosh, you're so talented. Why are you here? And it really played on my psyche, because I'm like, yeah, why am I here? Like, I'm here because I need the money. I'm here because I don't know what to do with my life right now. Things kind of just fell apart. I'm here trying to rebuild. Like, it really played on me. And so the more people are asking me, why am I here? Because I'm so talented, the more I was like, I don't want to be here. The more I was missing the closer I got to my son's 1 year anniversary, the more, the more the panic attacks set in. The more it was really like, oh, it is a whole year without my kid. This child that I didn't even think I could go a day without living. Now it has been almost a year, and I started getting panic attacks. I didn't understand what was happening, because in the Black community, what are panic attacks? What is anxiety? What is this thing? Like, depression is not, like, people are depressed for other reasons, not because of, you know what I'm saying. It's not that the things that I went through didn't feel like it was enough to be depressed, but it was almost like this depression was going on for too long. And that was mostly because I wasn't dealing with any of it. I wasn't processing it. I was just working. Every time there was overtime, every time there was time to make extra money, to take extra shifts, I was doing that. Like, I was taking as much overtime. I even worked on, I believe, on Christmas. Like, I had even signed up to work on Christmas, to work through the holidays, because I'm just like, bah humbug. Christmas was my son's favorite time of the year, and I'm not gonna be at work, be around people during this time, because it's just not gonna go well. So that's with work. And so now I'm facing this thing where I am having these panic attacks, and I can't be at work, or I don't want to be at work, but I have to be at work because I can't just up and quit my job. I just got a new car. And I talked to a couple people at work, and they told me this thing about the EAP, which was the Employment Assistance Program. And through that, I can get therapy and some other things. So I looked into it. And part of it is you need a doctor to sign off on it. And so I had to take it to my doctor. And I told him, I'm like, look, I need some time off work. I'm just not thinking straight, all this other stuff. And his first response was like, well, time off work is called a vacation. Did you know that ignoring your self-awareness will keep you stuck and emotionally imprisoned? Man, we go through life with this hustle mentality, going, never taking a moment to stop, to breathe, until life kind of just spirals out of control. But it is time to take control. It is time to experience the freedom of your most authentic self. And I have a gift for you. I have witnessed the tears, the happiness, the joy, the transformation when I have done this workshop in jail, in colleges, in high schools, and I want to offer this to you. So, click the link below, get access to the free mini course. There's 4 videos. You are going to enjoy it, and let's get to the other side of healing, because you deserve to show up authentically as you. And I'm like, no, I don't think you're hearing me. A vacation is not enough. It's not helping. 'Cause I had been on a vacation. I had been to Cuba, and that was cool. But the sadness came right back, and I'm like, it's not. My heart is out my chest. Like, I'm like listing these symptoms, and it wasn't until he saw like a tear in my eye. He was like, oh, right now, tear in eye. And then he's like, okay, maybe. And then he's like, okay, fine, I will sign these papers for you. And so he gave me 6 weeks off initially. And then at the end of 6 weeks, I had, how are you feeling? I said, okay, I'm doing okay. I'm doing, it's helped. He said, great, you can go back to work. No, well, when I said I'm doing okay, I didn't mean I'm okay to go back to work. I said, overall, I am doing okay. And the gist of what he was saying to me was like, well, you're not suicidal. You're not sitting there cutting yourself. You're not sitting there so depressed that you can't even shower. And so because you're not to that degree of depression, then you can go back to work. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. Yes, I'm showing up. Yes, I'm getting up every day. Yes, that is my hope in Jesus. That is literally keeping me awake and alive. But that does not mean I'm ready to go back into the workplace and to manage people's accounts. Like, that's not what that is. Like, there's a scale in between that. And I haven't hit that point yet that I'm ready to go back to work. And so I had to ask him for more time. And it really felt like I was battling every single time I needed to get some time off to focus. I needed to battle people and prove to them that I needed this time, that I wasn't just faking, that I wasn't just trying to play games. I wasn't just trying to stay off work and get paid. And they really were treating me as if I was criminal. But if you look at the history of everything I've been through and everything that's happened in my life, you should wonder why I'm not in a worse state than I was. You should wonder how I'm not under a bridge somewhere. You should wonder why I'm not dealing with cutting issues. You should wonder why more is not happening to me. But it was literally the peace of God that was keeping me. And that peace of God and that joy that was in my spirit was what they were seeing when they were telling me that I was too far gone for them to help me, but at the same time not far enough for me to do anything about it other than take the medication. And so I was now stuck in a period where I'm trying to figure out what to do what's next. I'm coming to work crying. I'm coming to work, things aren't working. When I'm off work, I feel so much better. I feel like I can breathe. I don't feel like I'm choking. I don't feel like I have to cry if I need to sleep all day because today just wasn't a good day. I am affording myself to do that. But at the time, it's like I had to fight for every freedom that I knew I needed. I knew my body needed, and I wasn't willing to allow them to run me over and tell me you're gonna get what we give you. But losing this job was painful at the same time. As much as I was happy to be off, I was still happy that I had a job. I was still happy that I was making money on my own. I was still happy that I was doing something that was meaningful, purposeful, that people needed to or enjoyed my presence. When I was handling their accounts or the people, my team at work, it was cool because I never had coworkers. It always been me, myself, my son, God, like, and the people around me. And so this was an interesting industry that I was stepping into, one that was very new to me. Like I said, as a single mom, my primary focus was my son, and now I was stepping into an industry where I was focused on other people. And there was so much built in that, and there was also so much that was being taken away from me little by little. My mind was shifting, my work was shifting. Honestly, I love pizza. This is such a side note, but I love pizza. My first pizza stone came from my manager. She gave us all Italian pizza stones for Christmas. And I was like, you are the bomb. Like, this is what people talk about having cool bosses that like do these things for them. Like, I just didn't know this world because I'm not from this world. I'm not from the corporate world. I'm from the baby mama's world. I'm from the single, I was from the world where where they put the screw ups in the corner. That's what I was from. And now I'm stepping into being happy that I have a job. I'm stepping into people like, oh my gosh, congratulations, you have a job. And all of that was being threatened to be taken away because my mind was not going along with the rules of society. My mind wanted to play. My mind wanted to rest. My mind wanted to breathe. And it did not want to stay within the confines of the four white walls. I always said four white walls was not for me. I didn't see myself in an office. I always saw myself as being a creative or doing something else. But life had handed me these cards, and I was working my way through them as best as I could. And so now I'm at a place where my body was shutting down on me, and it no longer wanted to afford me the luxury of working for money. And that was challenging, not just for me, but like I said, I just got in a car. So when I had talked to people around me about, thinking of coming off work and going on disability, the first question was like, so who pays your bills then? As if bills were more value than my mental health, than my mind state. And I was just like, well, if I can't think, if I can't do the work, then I'm no good to the company either way. So I pushed forward and I took my time off. And like I said, it was always a fight to get time off. But this last time, I had used up all my short-term disability. And so I was applying for now long-term disability because it was still a thing that it was really, really, really new to me. I really didn't understand what was going on. Now, the crazy thing is I'm not a fan of the word long-term disability because I didn't believe that I would be in the state for long. I was just in the state for longer than the allowance that they gave me because there was so much I was working through. It wasn't just my son's death that I was working through, and it's not on the fault of the company. It really isn't. But I was working through the years of abuse, the years of trauma, the years of being pushed aside, the years of people just trampling over my heart. Like, I was managing all this all at once. It just came to the surface at the time that I got this job. And so the long-term disability was for me to function in a way that I could get my mind back to a state that felt healthy. Because at that moment, it was like so much trauma had happened to me that my mind felt split. It felt like I had spliced it. And I no longer knew how to do certain things like driving a car or answering questions and even just like leaving the house. For a long time, I had such high anxiety that I never wanted to leave the house. I would see it look so pretty outside, and I would just, that looks nice, and I couldn't leave the house, and nobody understood that. They're like, well, just go outside. Now for little things, if I had to do something, I would go outside. But like, I was isolated. I was really confined to this house, my parents' house where I stay at, and I felt safest in here. So I didn't trust myself outside, and people they don't see that. And even when you try to explain it to them, they don't understand it. Because how do you understand it? How do you relate to something that you never had happen to you? It almost sounds foolish that, what? You don't want to go outside? You don't want to leave the house? And these were just debilitating fears and things that I was dealing with that everyone kind of just wrote off as like, yeah, she'll get through it. She'll get over it. And so in this time of applying for long-term disability, the agent who I was speaking to at the time was really rude, was unhelpful. And if you heard the poem that I did earlier this week, my letter to the industry, it was really a hard time for me because at the time when I was seeking help, the person made me feel worse. They made me feel like complete garbage for even trying to get this help. And when you're going through life and situations where the smallest thing is making you cry and you feel really vulnerable and you don't feel yourself, having someone yell at you, having someone degrade you, having someone call you all sorts of names, all sorts of things that you're not, is really hard. You know you're a hard worker, but they're calling you lazy. You know you're the type of person who shows up, who gives ideas, who's invested, and they're just telling you you're just not trying hard enough. You just want a free pass, and you're just like, none of that is me. They're putting all these labels on me that don't belong. And so I was denied long-term disability. I was then forced, I had no money. And the clause in the job that I had was like, okay, so because I'm denied long-term disability, I can no longer get money from them. But at the same time, I'm not allowed to go out and work for any other company, because if I do work for another company, then I have to quit. So my only option is to force me to go back to work when I'm not ready to work. So this is how I started the skincare company with my sister and her friend. I already had the material. I had already bought the equipment from a time before. I'm like, one day I will start this. Well, this seemed the perfect time to just focus on something else, because the things around me, they weren't providing enough relief, enough space. And as we started to build this, as I started to formulate, that's really how God used it to get my mind off of the problems and the things around me, to shape me and mold me into this person who found purpose again, and something that I didn't even know I loved to do, but I really found it was so intriguing to me to put together these things. And I got really fixated on creating deodorant and creating all these products that were really amazing, that like, and then we took it and we're in the market and we're seeing these people. And for 5 years, we were seeing growth. For 5 years, we may not have had all the money for ourselves stacked up, but the business was flowing. We're here, there, and everywhere. People were knowing our name. People were knowing the project. We were on the TV and getting all sorts of interviews, and all this stuff was happening. And then God told me to shut it down. There wasn't even like one day we were here, and the next I had to tell people, "Hey, God said no," and so we shut it down. And I feel bad for all the customers that I had. And the interesting thing is, along this journey of building the skincare company, one time we had ended up in the newspaper. We went to an Ajax festival. Ajax, a city in Canada, for those who don't know it. And we ended up at the city festival. We ended up in the paper. And there was a manager at the job that I was on leave from, who saw the picture. And because he saw the picture, he decided to tell HR that I was out there building my own company while still technically attached to the company. And so they called me in and they forced me to either choose to come back to work or to quit. Now, if I quit, I'm not, I had no, what do you call it, access to any benefits, anything. I voluntarily chose to leave, is what it is. So I couldn't claim anything, couldn't claim yet nothing, or I had to come back to work. And so at that moment, I said, well, this brings me peace. This brings me joy. So I'm going to I quit. I'm not coming back. And with that, my team was upset. A lot of people was upset, hoping that I'd come back. But I just wasn't in the mind for it. I shifted so much in that season that I wasn't ready to come back. But I was really upset because I was like, that person went out of their way. They're out of their way to call HR to tell them that they saw me in the paper. You know what happened to them? A few months later, they got fired. Now I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to say nothing about that. But when you do unto others, things will come back to you. So now I'm going through this, and I'm forced to lose this job, right? No chance of going back, no benefits, nothing. And I'm now in the territory of building my own company 5 years later. We're doing great, and God tells me to shut it down. And I started this journey of, okay, now I'm going to be walking with God. Now He's teaching me along the way everything He wants me to know, everything that He's trying to show me. He's teaching me and growing me, and I'm learning to trust in God. But I'm still facing the people who are like, so you're just not going to get a job? What do you do for a living? You're just going to be at home? I'm still facing the comments and the questioning. And I'm in this place of like, yeah, this is where God has me. And then I'm telling people, hey, I'm moving to LA, and all these incredible things are happening at the same time. But my pockets, my financial situation has not changed. I still only had enough money to pay for the bills that was in front of me. I still only had enough money to do very minimal things. And for the most part, I still had debt. I still had this. I still had that. And so I went from a season of, I was finally making money. I was finally, okay, doing things that worked for me. And then because of my body, I had to quit. And then during that time, I'm starting to learn myself. I'm starting to, okay, figure out the things that I like. I'm starting to get to a place where I feel rested. I feel purposeful. And now I'm like, A, I was forced to quit that job. And B, I didn't qualify for benefits. So I had to go on my own and start working and building my own thing because nothing else worked. Nothing else was in my path. And as I'm doing that, I had always been like, we weren't making enough money to get paid from it, but it was always like, God is about to break through. God is about to do something. Just hold on, just keep pushing, just keep building. And then God was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to shut it. What do you do when everywhere you turn, it either shuts down or you're forced to leave it? In the name of giving it all over to God, what do you do? Well, I had to stand. I had to keep pushing. I had to keep believing. I had to increase my faith even greater. Okay, God, that's what you did when I had a job. That's what you did when I had a business. Now I have none of those things. What are you going to do now? How are you going to break through now? And can I tell you that every month since I have walked away, God has paid my bills. God has continued to, not, hasn't been easy, challenging. But He sent people in my way. He sent people to bless me. He sent people to make sure that I'm okay. Either they give me work to do or they just bless me. God has been making a way for things to happen. And most recently, I was like, okay, things are getting a little tight. Because every month it's like, okay, God, are you going to pay it? How are you going to pay it? What are we doing this month, right? And sometimes He pays the first half of the month, and then I'm waiting for the next half of the month. And so last month I was like, okay, you know what? Let me apply for a job. Let me apply for something. Let me see. Because I have friends, now I have friends around me. Before it was family and older people. Now I have younger people saying, you know what, maybe you should get a job. Things are kind of tight for you. And I didn't want to feel like a burden on people like I've been feeling. And so I said, okay, let me apply for a job. So I applied to a couple jobs. It was really stressful because I'm not used to applying for jobs. Every job that I've really gotten has been God just putting it in my lap. I really haven't had to do a lot of work to get it. Blessings and favor. So now I had to recreate a resume because I'm like, I'm never going to need a resume again. I'm either going to work for myself or I'm going to work for myself, right? Now I find myself in a place where I'm putting up a resume. I applied for this place and I get through to the next level, to the next set of interviews. And as I got it, something was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go for this interview or do you want me to not? Because I'm in a place now where my heart is for it. I only want what you want. And through prayer, I had to turn down the job. And so now I'm back in a season of continuing to wait on God, continuing to believe that He's going to bless all the things that He's put in my lap, all the businesses He's given me, all the ideas He's given me, all the books and everything to increase. And it's just a matter of time before it hits overnight, or it's going to look like overnight to a lot of y'all, but I've been building for the last 10 years plus. And I'm in this place where I'm looking at the loss of the job. And when we make the job our identity, we lose. We make idols out of these jobs. We lose because we put our whole identity, our whole friendships, our whole life into these things. But God is the one who provides, and He showed me that because when I had no job, no business, He still provided for me. He brought me. He used one of my other skills to make money. He's using some of my other skills that I thought were weaker, that I'm unqualified in, to bring people the same type of joy that they did when I was working customer service. And so, as much as we're talking about losing things, some things when you lose it, it hurts for a bit. But then when you see what's on the other side of it, you're like, wow, I would have never gained this if I never lost that. Some people don't ever get to step into the next because they're so focused on what they have in their hands. And so in this conversation of loss, in this conversation of putting things behind, it has been a real lesson to learn financially how to put everything down and focus on God, and how to give up control and not be like, okay, you know what? I can take from here to put here to financial math isn't the solution when it comes to God. Like, when it comes to God, financial math don't even make sense, because you'll be like 1 + 2 and God is like equals 1,000. And you're like, equals 1,000? And He's like, equals 1,000, because I'm putting more on top of it because I value you and because I love you. And so for all those who've lost jobs, I just want to say, take heart. It is hard. Go through the process. Don't just fly, okay, whatever, I get. Take the time to process who you were in that job, the skills that you had, the things that you learned, the things that you did well, the things that people said about you. Take all of that, because those are all your skills. It all belongs to your personality and who you are. And take that and see, what can I do with what's in my hand? Is it that I'm going to start a business? Is it that I'm going to go to a different company and just position myself in the right way? Like, what does that look like? Never take a loss like life is over. Just take it on the chin, as one of my friends would say. Take the L. Hold it, process it, release it, and then go get better. Go for greater. Go and strive for what you didn't even think you would be doing. This is my first year filing taxes as a self-employment person, not attached to a business, not attached like a specific business that I was running, and just being a freelance graphic designer, the things that God has put into my hand, just blessing people with the skills that He's given me inside. And people have blessed me. People have tipped me. People have done above and beyond anything I could thought of, and it has met my bills. Now, obviously, God is going to come in with the greater, and He's going to pour in above it. It's going to be overflowing, but I do not despise the small beginning. I do not despise being in this situation. I do not despise being in this space, because like I said, when it hits, a lot of y'all are going to think I was an overnight success, but I've been building this for years. I've been working for years. I've been working without pay for years just to get to this point that I can say, you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy that God has answered everything. I'm happy that everything has come to fruition. I'm happy that I didn't lose out. I'm happy that I did not give up when they tried to sabotage me, when they tried to call me out my name and put labels on me. I'm happy that I trusted in the one who created me more than anything else. And so if you didn't watch my letter to the industry, please go and watch that one, because it is so true that many of us put trust in an industry who really just hates us. Like, they don't really have our best interests at heart. And that's not for everybody. Some people have great relationships with these industries. Some people have a lot of luck, favor, blessings when it comes to certain things that they go through. But my voice is always going to be for the ones, the outcasts, the ones who their voice has been taken away from them. Their choice has been taken away from them. They got to fight just a little bit harder to get those things that God has poured out in them. So do not lose hope. Keep fighting. Loss is never easy, no matter what we're losing. But there always, always, always will be a way out, a way to shine, and a way to fight and to keep going. Let God fight your battle. Let Him right the wrongs for you. So I thank you for listening. You know what I'm about to say. Hit the outro. Do not click off. You're going to want to hear it because I got an amazing program for you. And listen, the breakthrough that you need is on the other side of that program. So, love you. Have a good night. What would it look like if we were a people that were healed? What would it look like if we were people that believed in doing the work necessary to remove trauma, to get through grief, and to come out on the other side? Man, we think that therapy is the only way. Therapy is a great way, but there's also a creative way that can help us get through this process. My name is Kola. I am an amazing artist, and I have a program called Restore and Embrace Myself. It is all about the healing and the getting through and the getting over. And if nobody told you, you are special and you are so deserving of so much more in this world. So get in contact with me because I'd love to work with you.